Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001! Because between you and me, they're way past cool!
Hello my friends, this is Wake Angel 2001. Who remembers last month when I put up that poll to see what you guys would want to see as my next personal project? Well, I put two polls up, one here on YouTube and the other one on DeviantArt, and surprisingly, they didn't match. So here on YouTube, you guys all voted for Lanolin, and she is coming up next, but on DeviantArt, the winner of the poll surprisingly was Jewel the Beetle. I really only put her name there because I already was halfway through making that figure, because I went to the effort of making her head and everything, but I never expected that people would actually be interested in seeing that one completed because, you know, Jewel's not really an action-oriented character. Speaking of which, let's get into her backstory. Jewel the Beetle is a character from the IDW Sonic comic. She is Tangle the Lemur's best friend in her home village, and, well, you know, at first you'd think that they're trying to set up the dynamic of the hero-style team, you know, with, like, if Whisper is the power type and Tangle is the speed type, then Jewel would be their flight. But the thing is that, well, Jewel's just not a combatant. I think the only time she actually saw some real action was when she got kidnapped by the Babylon rogues who mistook her for a precious gemstone in the Mineral Museum, and she got herself yeeted out of their blimp like a football. The poor girl. Keep in mind, Jewel is a beetle, so she is a smaller than average character. She's not a child, she's just naturally small because, you know, bug. So yeah, she pretty much cemented that she is not a fighter. However, she is extremely useful in the comic because she took over basically the administrative role for the Restoration. You see, like, the IDW comic does flow directly from Sonic Forces, so the war against Dr. Eggman is won, and now it's all about rebuilding the world back to the way it was. And people who were all set to fight battles, like Amy Rose and Knuckles and all that, are not really set to doing all the paperwork that's involved in a restoration, so that's where Jewel comes in. She gives Amy an excuse to go out and have adventures and not be sitting around a desk all the time. Of course, Jewel was infected by the metal virus that turned her into a Zombot, and she was in fact the one that infected Tangle, but, you know, we'll forgive her for that. A lot of people got infected. But yeah, like, that's really it. Jewel, being a non-combatant means that Jewel's role in the comic is, you know, fringe. Like, she's always there, we like her when we see her, but we don't really have to, you know, she's not really that, she's not gonna be in a lot of stuff, you know, she's just the one who's there, and you're thankful that she's there, but she's not always there. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to making her toy. The base figure for her would be this aggressive Retzko, loyal subjects Retzko figure. I kind of love the whole, the karaoke one, like, I can't really do a death metal scream. And I would make a 3D printed model of her head. Now, I'm actually kind of proud of this one. It started out as a Forces avatar head, which I imported into Tinkercad and modified myself to look like her. Of course, my Tinkercad model has antenna, but when I printed it, the antenna didn't come out. I'm not sure if I accidentally forgot to render the antenna into the, like, when I merged the model, or if the antenna were just too thin from my printer to notice, so it didn't make them. Not sure. But, you know, I can always make antenna. Antenna are easy. I'm just happy that I actually made, like, a serviceable model of Jewel's head all on my own. I'm so proud. look at me, Corey Senpai. I'm learning how to make character heads that aren't robots. Of course, I did make this head before I made Metal Sonic issue 89 version. I think I even made her before Uncle Chuck. Yeah, so technically this was my efforts before I made them, but of course she's modified from an organic forces avatar and not, an amalgamation of circles and pyramids that makes up a robot head. Okay, so enough about that. Retsuko has one of those gigantic ball joints that's, you really have to heat the vinyl head for to get it off. It's a good thing the head's made out of vinyl, otherwise it would never come off this thing. So after sculpting on some details like that little scarf and the little pocket things, I shaved the neck peg down to something that'll be able to stick into a more normal head hole. And you may notice these things on her back. That is this. It's parts of a Mega Construx figure, basically the thighs, and one of the Evelyn ball joint things for her magic staff, but I could only find one. I guess I've been using these things, so I had to use the neck of a Spartan to make the other ball joint. Basically stuck into her back like this so that she could have articulated wing cases. Yes, because I figured, hey, if I'm going to give Jewel a beetle shell on her back, I may as well make it a functional beetle shell. So the shell itself is made in Tinkercad. Again, it's basically two parabolas. No, it's a parabola stuck to a hemisphere. That's what it is. Hollowed out, of course, so that I could stick the hip joints into there so that they could function as ball joints for the wings. So we will move on to that as soon as I show you guys the painted parts. She basically just has this little fuchsia outfit. Her hands are Cream the Rabbit hands. They are the exact same model that I used to make Cream's hands. And it's funny, but the way that Retsuko had pin disc wrists means that on this thing, she kind of has little pseudo elbow joints at the glove cuff. I mean, they're not like really deep bends because they were meant to be wrist balls and not actual elbows, but it's an added little bit of articulation that Jewel has. And her legs are a simple enough job. She has her stockings, and the shoes are Blaze the Cat's. They come from my fodder bin of damaged Jazzwares figure parts, so I didn't dismantle a perfectly good Blaze for this. I just used some spare Blaze parts I happen to have. I think the hardest part was painting Jewel's shell. Like, her skin, for want of a better term, is a simple sky blue, but her shell is supposed to be iridescent, so it has like a pearlescent rainbow effect, and I do not have any iridescent or pearlescent paint, so to replicate the effect, I put a tiny drop of color into white, and then stirred it up to make a very faint color, and then I painted that stripe in. And then once I had all the colored stripes in, I painted over that with a layer of white that wasn't deep enough to cover up all the colors. And that made, the rainbow effect that I wanted. Although it doesn't photograph very well. Like, it looks a little bit more shiny, and the effect is captured more to the naked eye than it is to the unfeeling robotic gaze of a camera. But, that's just what that is. So let's construct the Jewel. Here is our completed Jewel the Beetle. She is a Beetle girl, all right. She's about the same height as Cream the Rabbit as far as the figures go. So she's not, super tall because she is intentionally a smaller character. And the shell on her back is articulated. It can be folded back in the closed position, or you can open them up. Unfortunately, I couldn't really give her wings underneath. I didn't really, the shell casing is easy enough to move on a couple of ball joints, but fitting a pair of articulated wings underneath the shell was just a bridge too far. Maybe if this was a 5-inch scale figure instead of a 4-inch scaled figure, I could have pulled that off, but, that's what we have to work with. So I think Jewel matches pretty well with Tangle and Whisper, showing off their relative scale. And we got the we got the little team going on there. Of course, once I get to making the lanolin figure, we'll have the proper Diamond Cutters 2.0. So, look forward to seeing lanolin soon. But of course, we're going to do some more commission work in between then, because, this isn't the channel for my personal indulgences. I am a man who is working on things for other people. I gain my joy when I know that you are happy. So this is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.